And speaking of democracy, we have James O'Keefe on the line. So James O'Keefe did excellent work undermining the Bernie Sanders campaign. Oh, I found my pen. It's in my pocket. You know what was cool about the early aughts? You'd have a digital camera, because phones didn't have cameras back then. So digital camera in the right pocket, left pocket, keys in the right pocket, flip phone in one back pocket, wallet in the other back pocket. And if your pants were fairly tight, you could just, the way you check to see if you have everything is just go.
Just feel it.
Just feel.
Yeah.
Yeah. You look like you were exercising your Kegel muscles. And then that, and yeah, we're good. Ready to go. But he sent spies in, and Americans seem to have a problem with this. They think we're catching people in their living room. No, we're catching people who are taking our money, who are threatening to overpower our lives and eventually tell us what to do. Those particular people need to be monitored. No one is asking for free speech to be stifled. No one is asking for people's private conversations to have to change. But if you are campaigning to have power over me, I need total transparency. I need to know what the fuck you're talking about. I need to know what you're about before you take my money and tell me if I have to abort a baby. Or if other people get to murder babies. So it's perfectly legit what he did. So he goes in there and he discovers these guys aren't just radical socialists. They're radical communists who defend the worst of Soviet Russia, which Soviets don't do. You don't hear Russians saying the gulags were okay. No one likes the gulags. The gulags, of course, were Russia was too cheap to have prisons. They couldn't afford it. So they would just send people out to go build a road, build a wall. They would die in the process. There was no respect for human life. So he starts hearing these guys defend gulags, defend Soviet Russia, defend Stalin, defend genocide. And he sees them talking about what's going to happen in the future. How Milwaukee will fucking burn. They talk about killing cops. And these two conflate, the gulag and this attitude conflates when it comes to what's going to happen to us. This is why you need to spy on these people. What's going to happen to us after Bernie's elected is we are going to have to go to re-education camps, essentially gulags. This is what they do. What they do in North Korea is they send them to re-education camps where they teach them that they're wrong to doubt the government. But while they're there, I might as well test out some stuff on your eyes to see if it causes infections. You know, like corrupt makeup companies will practice on bunnies. Communist countries will practice on human beings. So we will have to go to Nazi re-education camps and denazify ourselves for years. Like 6 years it'll take to get me to be a socialist. And then I'll come out going, I understand now. Sanders is the man, even though he will have already done his entire term. And I'll be out. What does it say? Half the country is going to have to be re-educated.
The country that are haters.
Can you kill me so we can read that?
Tame that beast. What are you going to do with them? I mean, you need something really radical. What you're proposing is great, and I agree with you. Mm-hmm. The best thing is by example, but that takes forever. I mean, these people are angry.
Yeah,
they're not going to.
Yeah, I mean, it is a huge source of anxiety for me. So, it's like that's definitely.
But I think we have to think in those ways, right?
Absolutely,
all right,
and
it's so anyway, the Washington Post says this scoop is not a scoop. It's just some random volunteers that were there one day, basically vagrant, whatever, anarchist psychos, and they can't vet volunteers. So these volunteers come in and they work for Bernie, and they say some stupid shit. They're just nuts off the street. And James O'Keefe goes, no, they're not random nuts. They worked for Bernie. In fact, look, here's their, whatever it's called, their W-2 forms. And what's it called, that form?
It's I forget
what it's called.
FE something?
Yeah, something like that, an FE2. Here, they're employees of the Bernie campaign. Kyle Jurek gets paid. He works. This nut, Milwaukee will burn, works for Bernie Sanders. And then Twitter goes, that's fucked up. You're done. You're locked unless you delete that tweet. Now, we know what's really going on here is the big tech fat pig neckbeards who work at Twitter collecting data and running all their code. They're all Bernie bros. And they're trying to manipulate the election. This is election meddling. Let's ask James what he thinks of this latest controversy. James, are you there?
I'm here.
Just so you know, I'm not. This isn't Michael Malice. I'm dressed like Nancy Pelosi.
I couldn't figure out what character you were today, or if that was just a new George Michael thing going on there.
I tell you what, I can't figure out. What exactly did you do wrong? Why are you suspended from Twitter?
This is one of those Kafka-esque nightmares situations. I literally reported an FEC pay stub of the Bernie Sanders guy who talks about gulags. Remember that video a few weeks ago? He's talking about gulags and killing police officers and burning down Milwaukee if Bernie doesn't capture the nomination. And I guess I'm assuming this. They sent me a explanation saying you violated someone's privacy. I'm trying to figure out what I did. There it is. I basically was trying to correct a Washington Post reporter who said that this man was a volunteer. The Washington Post reported he's a volunteer. I said, no, here's his FEC pay stub showing he's not a volunteer. So Twitter suspends my account for posting what you're looking at right now, which is that's the FEC pay stub. It's actually public information. It's on the FEC website. So I don't feel it's right to take that down. So we're appealing that right now, trying to get Twitter to change their mind.
Well, I'm looking at the FEC pay stub, and there's no home address. Their argument seems to be that you're doxing them.
It's a pretty ridiculous argument. I wish they would actually say that. Instead, they just generally say I'm violating privacy. But what makes this so interesting is that the Washington Post reporter Dave Weigel tweeted out incorrect, false information. He deleted that tweet. He remains on Twitter. If I send out false and inaccurate information, obviously they'd suspend our account. So it's just a really strange situation right now. It is bizarre, but as a Canadian Brit, I'm used to this. The Canadian Human Rights Commissions will attack you if you say a fact that offends a group. And in Britain, we see the police arresting people for saying true things about grooming gangs. So I just think this sort of socialist thought control has finally made it to our shores here in America. It's gotten pretty mainstream with the Zero Hedge account being taken down. My account is now suspended. I think this is, you've said this yourself. I don't even curse on Twitter. I don't characterize things. I'm extremely factual. Now we do use hidden cameras. They've never taken down a hidden camera expose. So what is that if not theoretically? I don't think it's invading privacy because it's one party consenting to the conversation. But they've never taken down a hidden camera expose. All I do is report facts. I really just focus on facts. Some of these facts are pretty manifestly damning facts, but they're still facts. It's an FEC pay stub. And the Washington Post, and by the way, CNN shows up on people's doorstops, making fun of women who voted for Trump. What is that if not doxing people and violating their home addresses and so forth and so on? So this is I think we've crossed the event horizon now, and it's just banned people for political reasons, I guess.
I'm also amazed, by the way, that there's no backlash against these Bernie supporters from social media, the SPLC. They call all these other groups like Patriot Prayer, Proud Boys, whatever, they call them violent. And then these guys are saying, I plan to burn this place down. And these so-called left-wing hate watch groups don't seem to have a problem with it. So it's clearly partisan.
I think the reason that is the case is because, and again, these are outrageous statements. If you haven't seen the clips, this is the guy in the Bernie Sanders campaign is praising Soviet Union gulags. He says we need to have re-education camps to denazify people. Imagine
which will take years. They say it'll take years to train us.
Not even the paid staff organizer in Iowa for Trump, but the janitor was saying we need to have concentration camps. The guy that sweeps the floors. This would be the front page of the New York Times every day for a month until they fired this man.
Yes.
So, but this is the new normal. But in any event, this happens. And the reason they don't fire this guy, Kyle Urich, I have a theory, and I think the theory is pretty close to reality, is that they'd have to fire 100 people. They'd have to fire half of the Bernie bros would have to be fired. So they have this what I thought was a very difficult dichotomy. Either, fire the person or don't fire the person. If they don't fire him, they'd receive all this shame. But in 2020, they received no shame. No one cares. No blue check mark Twitter people think that it's outrageous that a guy who's a Soviet sympathizer praising violence, killing cops, and needing gulags. Nobody cares that this man is still employed. That's why I tweeted out the FEC pay stub of this man. I'm doing my duty as a reporter.
Right.
And Twitter has taken my account or suspended my account. Therefore, we have the Kafka-esque nightmare of which I speak.
So if you delete that tweet, will they reinstate your account?
Yes. And that's my staff basically. O'Keefe, are you going to delete the tweet? I said, not yet. I'm going to appeal it. I think it's wrong. I mean, it's wrong. What am I? I have no credibility. I report information the public has a right to know. It's publicly available information. They want me to delete my reporting. So on one hand, I want to be pragmatic and I want to have my Twitter account to publish more exposés. But on the other hand, I feel like I kind of need to die on this hill. So I'm going to not delete that tweet. I'm going to make a formal appeal to Twitter. And I'm going to, get ready for our next story launch through the Project Veritas Twitter, which still has 400,000 followers.
You're going to die with your boots on.
I'm going to die on this hill with my boots on.
Right on, James. Thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you very much.